Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And this is probably the most full we've had for a weekly recap in terms of news in probably a couple months, right?
I would say so, yeah. Normally, these have been going pretty quick the last little bit, or at the very least, they've been pretty light in news content.
Yeah.
But there's actually stuff to talk about beyond just like a couple of scattered volleyball and soccer games.
Yeah, which, hey, more content for us. But as for what we're going over, we're going to be covering football recruiting, baseball recruiting, volleyball, soccer, a little bit of preseason women's basketball, and of course, the wacky segment of the week. But let's start straight from the top with football recruiting and the brand new member of your Kansas State Wildcats to the 2023 recruiting class. And that is three-star wide receiver from Florida with a 6'1 frame, and that is Jace Brown. Jace Brown is someone who didn't have any other Power 5 offers, and I know that will make people on message boards extraordinarily happy. But just really, okay, before I go into my diatribe, do you have anything? What's your scouting report on Mr. Brown?
Yeah, so Jace Brown, he's 6', 165. Didn't hold any other Power 5 offers at the time. He did have a host of Group of 5 offers. And he was probably reaching the point where there's some Power 5 circling around. He was a multi-sport athlete that played basketball and track as well. He qualified district in Florida for the 200 and 400. He plays both ways as well in football. In fact, a lot of his highlights are actually at corner. But he's coming to K-State as a receiver. Grade-wise right now, he's graded by On3 and 24/7 as an 85 3-star, so kind of middle of the road prospect in that regard. He's a little slight as things stand, but there's some interesting things about him. He's fairly athletic and agile. He's not a burner or particularly fast, really, but he's a very good route runner. But he does need to work on his release. So there's some things that he's very good at, and there's some things that really need some work. So definitely more of a developmental prospect than a guy like Andre Davis is. But he's kind of reminiscent of RJ Garcia, I'd say, is kind of a prospect profile to compare him to. Especially, I mean, even being from Florida, they're very similar prospects.
Yeah.
But I like Jace Brown. He's a solid guy to fill in a class, especially because I think that we're chasing other receivers right now as well. I think he's a receiver that you want to fill out a receiver class as opposed to have him be the number 2 guy. Because Andre Davis is a very good prospect, and I really like Andre Davis. Jace Brown is someone I'd want to be the 3rd or 4th receiver in a class. So I'd like us to fill in one more, at least, guy who can come in above him, especially because we're probably losing a lot of receiver talent this offseason. So we're going to really need some young guys to come in and step up.
Yeah. As for my thoughts on Jace Brown, there's a lot of parts of his game that are actually pretty well developed already. The first thing is his ability to catch out of his frame and the way that he's able to quite literally snag at the ball. Because there were a few times in his highlight tape that the ball is thrown above him and he just shoots his arms up to make a pretty, one of those, I always call them split catches because you're pretty much full, every part of your body is fully extended to make sure that you can get that catch. And he has that ability, which is awesome to see just coming straight out of high school. And the other thing that he's pretty solid at is he has a pretty decent understanding of how, like, the fundamentals of route running. The first of which that he probably needs to work on is the air raid principle of every route is vertical until it isn't, which is one of my favorite adages that I've ever heard from a wide receivers coach. And it wasn't a receivers coach I've ever interacted with. Is something I heard on the internet, but it's very funny. But he has a pretty good understanding of how leverage works as a defensive back, probably because he plays a lot of defensive back. But like you said, he doesn't have the greatest long speed, and he's not someone who's going to come in day one, mostly because of his frame. But I could see him being a pretty consistent Z receiver And like you said, if he's the third receiver in this class, I would think we had a really, really good receivers class. If he's the second one, I would say we had an all right receivers class. But right now, the main thing is he just needs to hit the weight room because he is 160 pounds, and I imagine that's 160 soaking wet. Because when it comes to receivers, they're thinner receivers tend to uptick themselves on weight a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much our scouting report and why Jace Brown is such an important commit. So, welcome to the family, Mr. Brown. But we also have another one to welcome to the family, however, in a different sport. And that is a brand new Batcat commit, Hello Motorcycle, who's loud enough to hear through two walls. And that is the brand new Batcats commit, Hudson Bird from Blue Valley. And this is a 2023 commit. So in the same class as Micah Dean and there's one other that I'm
For
trying to think for 23.
4,
Oh,
I
he's a
believe.
24? Oh,
I
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. He is a 24.
The other
Yeah.
guys in the 24 class right now, you have AJ Avasco at first base, Robert Hammond,
Oh, I was thinking of
right-handed pitcher,
Vasco. Of Vasco.
Micah Henson, and then Tyler Smolinski are the others right now that are committed for 24.
Okay. But yeah, Hudson Bird 24 commit. What do you have on him?
Very little, honestly, because
Yeah.
he currently is not graded on perfect game. He's a 24 grad. Go figure, he's another utility guy, right-handed pitcher / outfield. Uh, his build reminds me of Caleb Littlejim. I don't know if his game is anything like that because there's no scouting reports on him on here. Very little that we know. We do have him clocked at an 87 mile per hour fastball velocity this past summer, which would put him in the 96th 0.56 percentile for
That's
the
like a
class of
16-year-old.
2024. Yeah, yeah. So really, really great development there. He just turned 17 according to Perfect Game. 16 or it says 17 and 0 months. He's a righty, batting and throwing. And again, 6'5", 190, pretty similar build to Caleb Littlejim, who played a similar role of being a rangy center fielder that could come in and pitch as well. And again, he's an in-state guy as well. Gotta love that. He's from Leawood, plays in Blue Valley. Yeah, not a ton that we know about him. We'll have a bit better of an idea once the professionals give him a grade. But until that point, it is difficult to get much of a read on him, I would say. Other than, it's always good to get another commit. So can't really complain in that regard.
Always good to get a new Batcat. But that pretty much wraps up the recruiting segment for this week. Now we can start talking about the sports that were actually played, and we can start off by talking about volleyball. Now, we kind of had concerns about the volleyball team after they went on a 4-game skid, and they responded. And the first part of their response was a 3-0 victory up against Iowa State in Bramlage Coliseum. I was actually in attendance. It was actually a very fun game. And yeah, it was like I said earlier, a 3-0 victory. It was 25-18 and then 26-24 and then 25-20. And it was another very well-attended match with 1,049 people in attendance, which for volleyball, that's very, very good. But in terms of stats, well, I don't want to step on your toes. That's normally your thing.
Yeah. Yeah, statistically, the team hit 243 overall. The trend of seeing less of Aaliyah Carter continued here in this game. She only played in one set and had 3 attack attempts, 1 kill, and that was it. Had a dig as well, but not a lot happening for Aaliyah Carter there. Then you go to who really did the best with the highest volume is Shaylee Myers yet again. The true freshman has been very, very impressive as of late. 45 attack attempts, 17 kills, and 3 errors, hitting 311. Had a service ace and 2 service errors. Other than that, Sydney Bolding had a nice day as well. 16 attack attempts, 10 kills, 2 errors, hitting 500 with 4 aces and no errors. Seems like we finally kind of got over the hump in this match for 11 aces to 4 errors. Lauren Hinkle had 37 sets in this match as well, and then just 1 attack attempt, which was an error. Mackenzie Morris had 22 digs in this match. Molly Ramsey had 10. And then beyond that, Elena Baca had 22 attack attempts, 6 kills, 4 errors. Then had 4 sets, 8 digs, block attempts, a little bit of everything from Elena Baca is kind of what we've been getting recently. Just kind of a jack of all trades player out there. Other than that, we saw some Haley Warner. Didn't do a whole lot statistically, only played in 2 sets. And then we saw some Dahlia Wilson as well. Had 6 attack attempts, 1 kill, 1 error. And that was it. But all around, I mean, can't really go wrong with the sweep from the Volleycats, even though Iowa State did out-hit K-State in this match by a little bit percentage-wise. K-State had more attempts and just had a few more errors. Was the reason for that. And they're still able to sweep despite Iowa State having a slightly better hitting percentage.
Yep. And after this performance, Shaylee Myers actually won Big 12 Freshman of the Week for volleyball. So congratulations to her. And after an excellent performance up against the Iowa State Cyclones in what we hope will be a preview of K-State domination for this week and Farmageddon week.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. They also went on to go play West Virginia in Morgantown. West Virginia was 6-9 on the year before this game with 0-4 in the Big 12. And K-State wasted no time in 3-0ing them. However, every single set, I believe they were at least down by 3. And in 2 of the 3 of them, they were down by 5 or 6. And won every set.
Yeah, because that first set 25-22 pretty tight, and then they had to go into extra points. I don't know what they call it in the second set, 28-26. So pretty close there. K-State hitting 204, so not quite as well as they did against Iowa State, but West Virginia putrid 0.084 hitting percentage. And it's going to be pretty difficult to win any match in which you're barely getting above positive in that regard. But the Cats, Elena Baca had an excellent day. 18 attack attempts, 9 kills, 1 error, hitting 444. And then had a few block attempts, 8 digs. All around really nice day for Elena Baca. Going elsewhere, Shaylee Myers did struggle a little bit. She had 24 attack attempts, 5 kills, 4 errors. Not the greatest day. She also had 2 service errors in this, with a few digs. Mackenzie Morris had 17 digs on this match, as well as a service ace and a service error. Leah Carter had 12 attack attempts, just 2 kills, and only played 2 sets. So again, it seems like she's kind of slipping in the rotation right now is kind of what it is. Either that or she's battling an injury of some sort. Lauren Hinkle had 30 sets in this match as well. Beyond that, not a ton of notable stuff. Sydney Bolding hitting 15 attack attempts, 7 kills, 3 errors, with a service ace as well. A lot of the issues come from West Virginia, 29 errors to K-State's 15 on attacks. Really, really rough performance for West Virginia there. There's a reason that they are winless in Big 12 play and 6-10 overall. But K-State ends up coming out with the sweep on the road. Regardless of the quality opponent, having that good of a performance on the road is still impressive nonetheless.
Yep. And that moves K-State to 11-6 on the year with a 2-2 conference record. And to first off, imagine being concerned about a 4-game skid. Imagine. Couldn't have been us.
Couldn't have been us. No chance.
Don't go listen to that episode. It contradicts what we're saying right now. I mean, no, it doesn't, because
it didn't happen.
So. Yeah, it didn't happen.
What episode?
Don't care. Didn't ask. Plus, it didn't happen.
It's not real. It never was.
But yeah, outside of that, they responded pretty well by getting 2 consecutive sweeps and winning. Like I said, sweeps are pretty convincing. But another thing that's quietly come to my attention is that Elena Baca is quietly the best player on this team, and that's including a team that had a consensus preseason All American, who's not playing because she's either hurt, but the person who's stepping in for her, Shaylee Myers, is pretty good.
Yeah, Shaylee Myers has really come onto the scene this year and been pretty excellent. She didn't do great against West Virginia, but up until that point, she really had nothing but great performances. But I'm not going to hold one performance against her. She'd been doing really, really well in the attack department. A lot to really like there, especially as a true freshman. Hope that K-State can build around her for the future.
Yeah. However, the next game, K-State volleyball gets to take this weekend off, get some nice rest and relaxation, and then immediately head down to Austin to face, I believe, the 12-0 to this point Texas Longhorns. I I don't want to say I'm not optimistic, but I'm really not optimistic.
You know, one could call you a Debbie Downer, but I'm not going to be that person because they are 12-0. They're 4-0 in conference play. The only time that they've had to go to a full 5 sets was when they faced KU. And that was because they got down to a 2-0 deficit early after some close sets, and they had to really claw their way back in that one. But other than that, it's been a lot of sweeps. Swept OU, swept Texas Tech, swept TCU. They swept number 12 Stanford. They faced Ohio State 2 times and swept them once and then won 3-1 in the other when they were number 7, beat number 4 Minnesota 3-1. They don't get in many close games. So it's going to be tough sledding for this K-State team, as it always is. A few years ago, I think maybe 2 years ago, they had Texas on the ropes, and they were up 2-0 and they ended up losing. So they're gonna have to replicate a magical performance, except this time on the road. They'll get them back home later in the month, but I mean Texas, I mean they're pretty much a borderline Olympic team every year in volleyball,
Yeah.
so it's a tough matchup for anybody.
Yeah. They play them on Wednesday, and then they play TCU in Bramlage for the pink match and also Dollar Night in Bramlage Coliseum against the Texas Christian Horned Frogs next Saturday at 6:30. That is the K-State bye week for football, if I'm remembering correctly.
I believe it is.
So there is no excuse.
Yeah, why not? Just go.
Why not us? But yeah, so congratulations to the Volleycats and wish them the best of their luck on a pretty tough part of their schedule. But next up is the Soccer Cats. Let's let's just start from the top here. Their first game that we're going to be match that we're going to be talking about was up against a number 9 in the country, TCU, and it was Socktoberfest, which if you went, you got a nice little Pilsner glass. It really is a nice Pilsner glass.
Did you get one?
No, but I've seen it.
Oh, nice.
One of my friends actually got it. It's a very nice glass. But that's about where the plus sides of this game end. TCU, as we said, was number 2 in the country, and this was a 1-0 loss for the K-State Wildcats. And the one goal was scored in the 43rd minute. It was just not a pretty game. It was just not pretty.
Yeah. I mean, the stats kind of show that too. K-State gets more than doubled up in shots and shots on target. First half 11-6 in favor of TCU, so at least respectable against a top 10 team. Second half 8 shots for TCU, just 2 for K-State. And then 9 shots on target for TCU over the match, 4 for K-State. K-State ends up with more saves, but that's kind of a misnomer because, I mean, TCU is putting more shots on goal than we were, so hardly matters. They had a few more corner kicks, 5-2. Fouls were roughly even. And yeah, like I said, the one goal was scored in the 43rd minute. Yeah, not a ton to write home about. K-State does hold TCU to just the one goal, but they were getting a lot of opportunities. But still a solid performance. They didn't roll over and give up like they probably could have. And TCU is a very, very, very good team. So all around a solid performance, but still not getting any points there. At some point, K-State's going to have to win a game like that. Not even just because it's important, but because just statistically they should have to at some point. They've gotten close a few times, but they really need to put home a win against a ranked team to generate some excitement around the program. Because right now, there's not many programs I think that there's like less excitement about, I'd say, than soccer. They have some nice promotions and stuff. It's a
Mhm.
fun day. You know, the park, it's not a huge time commitment. It's only about 2 hours, but it's definitely frustrating. They just haven't been able to get over the hump.
Yeah. And speaking of not getting over the hump, the next game, it, do we really have to talk about it?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, the next game was up against Texas in Austin. Texas was 8-1-3 going into this game with a 3-0-1 conference record. And to our credit, we didn't give up any goals in the first half. To our credit. And
Mhm.
if you would have told me we did that, I think I would have been happy. And then you would have told me about the second half where we gave up four, and I don't think I would have been happy anymore.
Yeah, it wasn't just that they gave up 4 goals in the second half, it was that they gave up all 4 of those goals in less than 15 minutes. The first one scored in the 68th minute by Cameron Brooks. Then just 5 minutes later in the 72nd minute, Emily Jane Cox puts one through. And then less than a minute later in the 73rd minute, Cameron Brooks gets a second one for a brace. And then a little later, Jolie Shimkin gets the last Texas goal of the match in the 82nd minute. Yeah, so 4-0 loss for K-State, and this one probably the worst match of the season. K-State gets about doubled up in shots and does get doubled up in shots on target. It's becoming a trend. 21 shots for Texas to 11 for K-State, 10 on target to 5 on target. Texas to K-State there. First half was a little bit more even, 9 shots for Texas, 6 for K-State. Texas really took over in the second half, 12-5. K-State gets one more save than Texas did. Texas had 12 corner kicks, just 2 for K-State. Fouls were dead even in not only total, but also half to half, 10 apiece and 3 apiece and 7 apiece in the respective halves. Only other really notable thing for K-State here is that in the 45th minute, Texas got a yellow card. Not much else really to say or take from this, I think. Just all around a really bad performance. Elena Wehrmeyer probably trying her absolute best in goal.
There's only
Uh,
so much she can do.
yeah, and this is not a shocking result, honestly. Like I'm sitting here, waxing about it, but it's not as if this is unexpected. Because teams like Texas in a sport like a soccer, they're just going to be completely more athletic in every single sense. I think K State's going to be. That's just how it has been for a while. Last year, when we watched that match, it was complete and utter athletic domination by Texas the entire time, and it was a miracle that game was only like 2-0 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this game, uh, last year it felt like a miracle when we were able to get a shot off, and I imagine it probably felt somewhat similar. I wasn't able to watch, but not a great performance. Would like to see more progress than this on the program at this point. Very frustrating result for K State because you at least wanted to get closer than this, but instead they dropped to 0-3-1 uh, in in a conference play, and it's not going to get easier really. Um, I say that it actually might.
I
Yeah, getting TCU and Texas out of the way is good, but they are a long way removed from that 0-0 tie at Iowa State to start conference play, to the point where they are now probably dead last or tied for dead last in the conference on another collision course with that last place spot, which is just really, really, really unfortunate.
yeah. Okay, I have two things. Firstly, how is Texas only ranked 23rd?
I do not know.
I and second, the last time and think about this. The last time K-State scored a goal was on my birthday, which was September 15th.
Man,
They have not scored a single goal since September 15th.
that is a wow.
You'd think they would just kind of accidentally stumble into one.
You'd really think, wouldn't you? But you would be wrong. Um, Fortunately, haven't been able to do it. And I was looking at Iowa State, and they are tied with us in last place. Because they've not won since their match against us, and they've had the same amount of games. This might be the sort of thing where if we can win one game in Big 12 play, we might make it to the Big 12 tournament for the first time ever, which is so depressing. Opportunities left. KU at home. Decent shot.
Baylor away isn't terrible because Baylor's not too great this year. They're 2-6-2. They actually have a worse record than us. But
that's potentially doable, but I can't recall the last time. Well, we beat KU on the road last year, I guess, in overtime. So I guess we did get that. But I mean, on the point that's being made here is that the soccer team is not getting better year in, year out. They are continuing to not perform as well as it feels like we were promised. Because I think that the big thing that we've been promised is that it's going to take time to do it. It's going to take time for the team to get to Power 5 quality, but they started in 2016 and it's 2022. I'm not trying to be rude about that, but I'm not asking for us to even finish middle of the table in Big 12 play. I'm asking for us to be genuinely competitive in our games.
I just want to make the tournament, man.
All you have to do is just not finish last to do that, which they might do it this year because Iowa State might just be bad enough to not win a game. That draw with Iowa State, if that had been a win, that we'd be in a great position right now, which is so sad to say. That is so sad. Like, that shouldn't be the standard. The standard should be higher than sneaking into the tournament. But you do with a program that's never even made it, you got to start small. If they can make the tournament this year, that is at least something. Even if it's with an asterisk, at least they make it.
It's tangible proof that we've done something to improve. Because that you and I mentioned that we didn't expect this team to be all that because they lost their best player.
Yeah.
We didn't expect them to be great. We just wanted to see improvement. And we've regressed.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. At times, this team looked like it was taking steps. The few games I've been able to watch start to finish, a lot of it has just been inconsistency. Sometimes they look like they're better. Other times they look disinterested almost. It's just hard to tell from such a far away point of view. But I don't know. I don't know what the path forward is because, at the end of the day, like, I'm doing all this criticizing. I'm not a soccer coach. I don't really know what I'm talking about. But you know what? We're just podcasting. It's not like our opinion actually matters. So
way to it's honest.
Yeah. I'm thinking from the perspective of the coaches here, because
Yeah.
it's like I don't know, because they are trying, like they're
It,
recruiting a lot, they're recruiting heavily, they're recruiting well,
yeah,
but it's just not translating on the field results right now.
yeah, like I'm not. Our intention is not to, oh, the coaches are so bad, they need to be fired right now. That's not our intention. We understand that it is extraordinarily difficult to build a program that's 6 years old in a conference that also has Texas, West Virginia, a perennial powerhouse, and TCU. We're not saying that. We just want them to improve.
That's it. Like improvement is the only thing that we want, and it's like pulling teeth to get to that point right now. It feels like they're constantly close to improving, but just haven't quite gone over that hump. Granted, West Virginia this year actually is having a down year, which is interesting. They're 4-3-6, 1-0-3 in conference. So granted that's just a lot of ties. But they did beat Iowa State 2-0, so we're probably gonna lose to them 2-0 by transitive property. But
Oh boy.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. The next match for the Soccer Cats is in Waco, Texas, up against Baylor, and then next Thursday in Boosier Family Park, up against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. But now we can start talking about women's basketball and a preseason award winner. We would have had a preseason All-American, but unfortunately, Ioka Lee, hope for a quick recovery for her from her surgery. But Serena Sundell is a preseason All Big 12 choice. So congratulations to Serena Sundell. And honestly, I think it's well deserved after she finished as she finished highly in Big 12 Rookie of the Year, or was she one?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I don't think she did win it, and I seem to remember it being a point of controversy. But I cannot recall off the top of my head if she did win it or not. I
Well,
actually
she
can't.
she was in contention either way.
Yeah, no, she
But
was.
congratulations to Serena Sundell. I actually am pretty high on after the initial gut punch that was losing Ioka Lee. I still think that this team could potentially make the Big 12 tournament, not the NCAA tournament. They could still make the NCAA tournament, but that's a question for when we do the Catsketball previews, which will come in uh, well, I guess we don't have much time now because the preseason stuff starts in, I think their first exhibition's in a month.
That it is, yeah, that it is. It is really sneaking up right now with how busy football's been.
And how busy we've been
That
as
is true.
people.
We are very busy folks.
Yeah. Yeah, congratulations to Serena Sundell. And that pretty much wraps up the news segments. Now we can go into the wacky segment of the week. And this week is if Big 12 coaches had to pick their favorite video game, what would their choices be? So I'm just going to go off of I'm just going to start looking at a list and, just start coming up with things off the top of my head. Joey Maguire is, I'd say probably Quake, just because of how energetic he is. Doom Eternal. Because I feel
Yeah.
like if Joey Maguire isn't moving once every 2 seconds, he's he may lose his mind. Neil Brown is a Genshin Impact player. I will not be elaborating. Brent Venables, Cooking Mama, burnt vegetables, we'll see how that
Oh,
goes. Lance Leipold, Flappy Bird, because he needs a reason to be angry at everything. Steve Sarkeesian. Uh, that's actually a toughie. What would Sark play? Sark just plays Madden, actually. Sark's just a
he
Madden
seems like
player.
he would.
Sark's a Madden player. Sonny Dykes. Uh, that's actually a toughie. We'll come back to you. Chris Kleiman, he plays Tetris. I will not be elaborating. Matt Campbell, he's the 12-year-old kid that rages every time he plays Call of Duty. So Call of Duty is his choice. Dave Aranda, Dig Dug. Mike Gundy doesn't know what a video game is, but he enjoys the one time his son came home and started playing like Bass Pro Fishing 2003. So he still plays it every day. That's my list. I don't know what Sunny Dice is.
All right. I'll start with I'll just go in order of the schools. You let me know if I forget one.
Okay.
Baylor, Dave Aranda. I'm gonna say there's two options here. The first one is Pong. And the second one is not even video games. He just watches like those like videos that are like meant to like be like hyper stimulating to pets and like just like watches very intently and has a zero emotional reaction and then just goes and watches game film or something at like 3 a.m. and he doesn't
might be a
sleep.
robot. He might be a
He
robot.
might be. Matt Campbell is 100% a Fortnite player. There's no doubt in my mind that Matt Campbell is just like sitting in like the players lounge and not letting the players like use like the TV because he's like trying to like win a Fortnite match. And but you know what? Sometimes he lets somebody sit next to him and that's why their team chemistry is so high.
Were you a polite cyclone today, Matt Campbell, when you baby raged at the kid who built up?
Did you say thank you when you lost in Fortnite today, Matt Campbell? Because that's what the good cyclone would do. Follow your own rules, Matthew. But Lance Leipold. I don't know. I feel like anytime Lance Leipold's handed a controller, he would just think it's frivolous or something. Either that or Peggle. That's it. Which honestly, Peggle is actually super fun.
Yeah.
Like objectively, I think it's just a really fun, like mind-numbing game.
Yeah.
Chris Kleiman, I feel like he likes Pac-Man, but I think he'd be embarrassed to admit it. And because I think he'd be embarrassed to admit that he enjoys something that like isn't like watching game film or being at Veneer. And so I think it would definitely be that. He'd be like Pac-Man, but say it like really quietly under his breath. Like and hope you don't hear him.
What was that, Coach? I don't know.
Nothing.
Go Cats.
After that, I believe is Oklahoma, if I'm right.
Yeah, burnt vegetables.
Brent Venables, aka Burnt Vegetables. I'm gonna say he exclusively plays Wii Fit, and that is it. Sometimes he might delve into Wii Sports, but only do boxing and breaks a sweat while doing it. And I think that'd be funny. Oklahoma State, farming simulator for Mike Gundy. That's it. After that, who's next? Texas?
TCU or Texas?
I'll say TCU. Sonny Dykes strikes me as a man who plays Candy Crush. Just like on his phone, like at random like points. Like I feel like I can see him like stealthily getting his phone out during practice and being like, yeah, I'm texting a recruit and like trying to like play some Candy Crush or something. While Max Duggan figures out like the game plan or something. I don't know.
Max Duggan's the real key here. Key to be Max Duggan.
After that, you've got Texas. Sark. I'm just gonna agree with you and say Madden because I really just don't know and don't particularly care either. Yeah. Joey McGuire, I feel like is Warzone because he's trying because I think that's how he connects with recruits so well as he plays Warzone with them. That is completely unsubstantiated.
Just Warzone sessions.
Yeah, that's unsubstantiated. I just made it up. It might be true. I'm gonna pretend that it is.
My source is that I made it up.
Yeah. Turns out I was lying. Other than I think after that it's just West Virginia.
Yep.
Unless I've missed anyone.
No.
Neil Brown. I think that he plays that game at the arcade that always had like the full-sized rifle, like the like
big buck game hunter?
Buck
big
hunter,
game hunt, yeah.
Yeah, I think he plays that. because he really wants to fit in, but I think he's getting really scared that he'll get fired. And after he gets fired, because it will happen, with his millions of dollars that he gets in buyout money, um, he could play any game he wants. I'm gonna say that he pays EA for early access to NCAA 24, so that way he can learn how to call an offense.
I thought you were gonna say that he just like buys every single like buck hunting game in the United
No, I
States
was
and puts
not.
it in his base. Oh, these get better and better, I swear.
Yeah, mine went better than I thought because there was like half of them I really wasn't sure going into it. I had to like make it up.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps up this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. If you want to contact the show, you can follow us on Twitter at Aggieville Alleycats. That's capital A, and capital C in cats. If you want to email us, we are aggievillealleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I am at AC Edwards00.
I am at Connor Baltazar, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store, where you can find such designs as the staff-approved Doomtang Clan, Play Sandstorm Cowards, and Neon Alleycats. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.